In this video, we're going to be taking a look at rhinestone fills, and specifically rhinestone fills on more complex shape, such as this shamrock here. And I think what you'll find is if you think outside the box a little bit, creating rhinestone fills is actually a pretty simple task if you understand the mechanics behind it. So what we're going to do here is anytime we have a complex shape. Now this is kind of a basic shape, but in terms of rhinestones, it's complex. To fit rhinestones within this shape perfectly, that is kind of a more complex task. So what we're going to do is we're going to simplify the shape as much as we can, because then we have to think less about how to go about filling this shape. So the first thing we're going to do here is just simply double click on our shape, and we're going to delete the tails here. We're going to right click and hit to line, and let's delete like that. And I might even delete some of these extra nodes over here. And I'm going to grab my control handles and just kind of modify the shape a little bit. So you can see we just did a little minor edit. So that the tail we can always add at the end. So now I look at, well, how could I go about simplifying this shape even more? Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go create a 2-point line from that point to that point, from that point to that point, from that point to that point, and from that point to that point. And then we're going to use our Smart Fill tool and fill in these areas. Just clicking, filling in those areas. So now what we've done is we've actually created more work for ourselves in a way, because now we have 5 shapes instead of 1. But let me break these apart for us so we can see this a little bit better. But think about this. The rhinestone software that we're using only has to deal with this area of the shape. So this is a lot less calculation than the whole shape. So if we go back to this, well, I look at this shape, or do I look at these pieces? And you'll see that looking at the pieces is much easier than looking at this more complex shape. So I'll go ahead and show you how to go about creating all these individual pieces. So we'll start here in the center. We'll come to the Stone Fill tab. Now, the way it works here in Easy Stone is if you take your stone size, which in this case 3.4 millimeters is what we use for SS10 stones, and then we have our spacing, which we use a 0.5 millimeter, and it combines those two values together. Now, after I've done lots and lots of rhinestone designs, I've discovered that if we add just a pinch extra of spacing, it will make our rhinestone fills much more simplified. So I'm just going to add an extra 0.5 millimeter to the spacing. And then when I click Island Fill, you can see what it does. It just kind of offsets, offset, as much as it can until it finds the center. Then I'm going to select all of these, come to the Stone tab, and I need to detect corners. However, I never use this option to detect corners. The way I detect corners is hold down my Alt key and click on Add Stones. And you can see the result that we get. A pretty decent result. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to delete our stone paths, but we do have one little hole we need to patch right there. So I just left click and drag with my mouse and then right click to make my duplicate. And then I'm going to select these stones. So I'm going to select one stone, hold my shift key down and select these others, and come to the editing tab and respace. And you can see I did not come in here and check for overlapping stones. So let's do that first. Check for overlaps. There we go. And then any other areas I think that could use some spacing, I might just come in here and respace another direction. And then I might come back in here. Let's do this direction. So you can just kind of keep going till you have that, and you can see now this is nicely spaced and we're ready to go on to the next section. So let's just take this section, same exact process. Add an extra pinch of salt right here, 4.4 millimeters. Click Island Fill. Then we're going to come in here. Tell you what, let's move these shapes away a little bit. There we go. So we'll come back in here. Same thing, go to our Stone tab, Alt, Add Stones. We're going to delete our stone paths, check for spacing issues. And you can see the initial result, you think, well, geez, that's not very nice. And you're right. But we'll patch a couple of holes here. We'll just select one stone. It's the same basic process. So we'll just clicking on these other stones. All the way around. So I just clicked on all the way around. And then editing, respace. And we could delete our stone paths. And then I just take the next row. So just follow that all the way back around. Respace that row. And then we'll go ahead and delete our stone paths. Now you see we've got all this mess here, but we can just kind of snake around and hit respace. And you see that pattern, that path that's created for us. So that takes care of that. And then we'll come in here and do the next one. We'll respace that one. And then we'll have to decide what we're going to do. Well, let's go ahead and plug this hole. So we'll come this way, I think. And we'll respace. That takes care of that. And then we'll have a hole here. And we'll come across this direction. And respace. So you can see the path that's created there. And then let's sort these going this direction a little bit. So you can kind of see how this works. And you just keep going in different directions here till you get the final result that you want as far as the spacing goes. It's really just a personal preference. But that is essentially how we go about creating that. So then what we can do is we can just connect the two from center to center, and we connected that too. So then let's go ahead and move on to the next piece. Back to stone fill, pinch of salt, right there, hit island fill. We'll go to the stone tab, Alt add stones. We'll delete our stone paths. We'll check for spacing. We'll plug in some holes here. And I think that will be enough. So we'll come in here, around the bend. We will editing respace. And then let's see here, we'll go this direction. Respace. Then we'll go this direction. Respace. And then I think we'll pick it up right here and respace to there. And we will respace. And I kind of sort this out as I go here. Let's see here. Let's see if we can respace all the way across. And then we'll sort this out going this direction. And then we'll respace these going across. Bring that down a little bit. Bring that up a little bit. So we're just trying to plug all these holes as best we can. But anytime you're dealing with just one stone size in your fills, it can be a bit of a give and take to get it to look right. But I think that looks pretty good. I think we can probably fit one more stone in here. So we'll respace, and then we get a new path, and we hit plus minus to add an extra stone. And I think that looks pretty good. So we'll go ahead and attach it to here as well. We won't worry about this overlap because we'll fix that at the very end. We'll move on to our next shape. A little extra spacing. We'll hit Island Fill. Alt add stones. Don't worry about those things if you see error messages and things like that. Sometimes that will happen when you're using that alt add stone function. But you just kind of ignore it, it'll go away. So then we'll patch this up here all the way around the bend, respace, and then we will respace go in this direction and then this direction. So you can see it's a pretty low-tech approach, but it's actually pretty effective, and once you get used to it, the individual steps involved, it's actually pretty quick too. But the most important thing, of course, is that you get the results that you're looking to get. So let's see here. And I think that's going to pretty well take care of that section for us. So we'll go ahead and plop that back down, and then we have one little section to go here. So back over here, pinch of salt on the spacing. So we'll add extra 1/2 millimeter. And we're going to alt add stones. We're going to delete our paths, check for spacing issues. And then we have to patch. So let's see what we're going to do here. Let's go like this. I usually start with the outside first. And we'll respace. I should point out too, I kind of forget myself. I find that I use that respacing function quite a lot. And so what I did is I have the respacing on the editing tab, but a lot of times I'm over here on the stone tab. So rather than switch to the editing tab, I have to train myself to right click on D for dog, and that also it does respacing. And then of course the next step usually is to delete that path that's created when we do the respacing, so then we can just hit D with our left mouse button to delete the path that's created for us. Once we've confirmed we don't need it. So that was my logic there. So, but I have yet to train myself that respacing can be accessed right here by right clicking on D and then delete our stone path there. So that's a newer function that I just have to remind myself it exists so I can use it. So you can see, really easy to fill these little sections rather than filling that whole shape. So now we're going to select our entire clover leaf here. We're going to check our stone spacing. And then all we have to do is come in here and respace those corners where there are overlaps. So we'll go ahead and do that quick. So right here you can see there's an overlap there, so we can select these stones and we can respace them by right clicking and get rid of that overlap for us. There's not one there, but there is one over here. And then this is a little bit tight going this direction, so we'll run our respace going the other direction here. That looks pretty good. So then all I did was I came in here and we'll just go ahead and grab these. And we'll add our little cloverleaf tail there, and we'll select the whole design. And we'll add a weed box, and we'll copy that clover over and right click on MU. And that gets us our clover. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and add a little decal cut line if we want to create a little decal cut line and we want to cut our decal material, then we can. So you can see that the finished result looks great, and the process is really doesn't take any CorelDRAW skills at all. And so that's how I take a big design, and if you break it down into little tiny pieces, the software will do a great job filling up those little tiny pieces, and then all we have to do is put it all back together like Humpty Dumpty again, and you'll have a nice finished result. So you can see it wasn't a very sexy process, but now you know the secret. That's my secret. Break it all down into little pieces, put all the little pieces back together again, and you have a great looking design. So I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you try it out. I will post a link to download this project file, so you can start with the very same vector graphic that I started with, and you'll be able to download this file, open it up, and see if you can't create a similar project. But this is a good little starter project for you when you're doing and learning about doing rhinestone fills. Thanks for watching.